Elon Musk floats a new idea about saving Americans on taxes. This would make 100 million Americans happy, and most of us don't fully realize the freedom it would provide. President Trump signs a new order making it possible to drill, baby, drill, and bring down the cost of American oil and gas. HHS Director RFK Jr. makes two huge announcements, and one independent journalist exposes Big Pharma in an incredible way. Thank you so much for watching. Let's go ahead and jump into today's news. As always, thank you for giving these videos a like and sharing them with family and friends. President Trump and Interior Secretary Doug Burgum announced the reversal of Biden's ban on offshore drilling, opening 625 million acres for oil and gas exploration. This move aims to boost domestic energy production by expanding drilling in previously restricted coastal areas. Increased supply could lower oil and gas prices, as greater availability often helps reduce costs for consumers and the industry. Lower energy prices may help curb inflation, easing the burden on American households and businesses. However, environmental concerns and potential legal challenges could complicate implementation, while long-term economic benefits depend on global market dynamic and production timelines. President Trump is also trying to get Saudi Arabia to produce more oil. He's also trying to end the Russia-Ukraine war and likely start buying oil from Russia again. Now, a new debate is emerging over property taxes, with Elon Musk advocating for the elimination of them, arguing they turn home ownership into a de facto lease from the U.S. government. Critics echo this sentiment, likening the system to feudal times under a king, where true ownership of land and homes remains elusive. Right now, we don't really own our own land or our own home, because if you miss that tax payment to the to the federal government, they can literally steal your home and your equity. Now, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis this week has jumped into the fight, endorsing a potential ban on property taxes in the state of Florida, though he notes it would require a constitutional amendment. Opponents of property taxes argue they undermine the American dream, asserting that hardworking individuals who pay off their homes should not face the risk of losing their home or land to government seizure. They claim property taxes effectively make everyone a renter, with the government as an overbearing landlord. Advocates for reform insist that banning property taxes is essential for restoring the promise of true home ownership and financial security. Let me know in the comments what you think. I've always felt property taxes were stupid and kept us under the control of an out-of-control government. But let me know. I know we have to have taxes. I know a lot of that pays for public education, but it also makes us beholden to the government. Imagine you have a house, it goes up in value, suddenly you can't afford the taxes and you lose that, or you're forced to sell it. All right, now one of the most infuriating pieces of information that has come out from the USAID scandal is, so basically we're learning that taxpayer money paid for the creation of the COVID-19 virus. It was illegal to do this under President Barack Obama, so Dr. Anthony Fauci and USAID hid the payments and shifted it over to Ukraine, as well as Wuhan, China. Then they used our money to create a narrative with the mainstream media to brainwash us about the efficacy of masks, vaccines, social distancing, and even lockdowns. Let me go ahead and play this and we'll react to it together.
Spending is required to be publicly available on usaspending.gov. We've known for a while that Dr. Fauci used NIH funding to finance bat coronavirus research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, but it took the watchdog White Coat Waste Project to expose evidence that USAID was funding it too. In fact, the bulk of the money came from USAID. Yet no grants to the Chinese lab appeared on USAspending.gov. It was hidden from the public through layers of unreported subgrants and subawards. Thankfully, my push to defund EcoHealth Alliance was successful, and the group is now barred from receiving U.S. government grants. But this is why my TRACS Act must become law to prevent money being sent to China, the Taliban, or any other foreign adversary. Every grant recipient must be disclosed to ensure accountability, and we shouldn't stop there. My bipartisan Stop Secret Spending Act, introduced with Ranking Member Peters, would add additional transparency to federal spending. So, Mr. Schellenberger, I'll start with you, please. Why is USAID so secretive about how it spends billions of taxpayer dollars? Is it to avoid the public outrage over the waste, or is there something more nefarious there?
Well, thank you, Senator. And first of all, thank you for your leadership in bringing transparency and accountability to aid and the funding there. Obviously, this example you just gave of the Wuhan Institute of Virology is incredible. I mean, the fact it appears that the U.S. government funded the creation of the virus that caused the global pandemic.
By law, all federal.
Okay. Wow. Why is Dr. Anthony Fauci not being held accountable? Why did Biden succumb to the pressure of allowing this man a pardon after he secretly funded and then orchestrated the cover-up between Big Pharma, the mainstream media, and the federal government, so we wouldn't know that it was America that created this in China and that it leaked from a lab, and then cover that up? And now we find that it was the bulk of the money was actually secretly funneled through dozens of organizations through USAID and then shifted over to Ukraine biolabs and the biolabs in China. I want someone held accountable. Why isn't Dr. Fauci being pulled in front of the American public and questioned under oath in front of Congress? Because if he lies, that's a new crime which you can hold him accountable for. All right, RFK Jr., the Human Health Service Secretary, RFK Jr., is reportedly set to do a full-scale investigation on where autism comes from. He says he doesn't fully know where it comes from, but in 1989, there were 13 major changes in the way things were done in the United States, almost all of them with chemicals, whether sprayed on food, sprayed on clothing, put into medicine, or put into our arm through a vaccine. He wants to find the truth, and I want the truth as well. Why is 1 in 23 children ending up with autism, where in the past it used to be 1 in 10,000? We've got to figure that out. Also, RFK Jr. has revealed that President Trump's DOJ will launch RICO investigations to prosecute the secret collusion between medical boards, medical journals, and Big Pharma. Let's watch this together.
Initial inclination would be to use the Justice Department and the moral authority of the office, but also, the Justice Department should immediately call in begin an investigation of the medical boards and the collusion between the pharmaceutical industry and the medical boards that are delicensing these physicians who actually try to heal patients and try to treat them. The Justice Department will also call in the medical journals that are corrupted by the pharmaceutical industry and explain to them that they're all going to be subject to criminal and civil RICO actions if they don't show us a way that they're going to stop revoking studies and refusing to publish studies that challenge the mercantile interests of pharmaceutical companies. We're going to change the way business is done at NIH.
All right, so let me know what you guys think about. RFK Jr. wants to stop Big Pharma from infiltrating medical journals, infiltrating medical studies, shelving medical studies that show promise but block the profits of Big Pharma, and advertising on the mainstream media. Right now, most mainstream media, I'm talking MSNBC, ABC, CBS, most of them are about 70% of their income comes from Big Pharma. Do you think that they will ever criticize Big Pharma, vaccines, drugs that are not doing well? This is not real science. This is paid and bought for profiteering from Big Pharma. And he says he's going to go after them. And I am so grateful that he is, because I want answers. And I believe, listen, I'm alive because of modern medicine. 100% I believe I'm alive because of modern medicine. But it has to be good medicine and it has to be good science. All right, now I have two more big stories that I want to share with you. But first, a word from our sponsor. Do you want to lose weight? Do you want to have more energy? Do you want to be healthier? Then you need to connect with Coach Brian at Body Boost by Brian for guidance on how to make and keep your health goals. Listen, I'm down 28 pounds. Losing weight has changed my life. I can feel it. I'm sleeping better. I feel less swollen. I'm not overeating. And it's been nice to have neighbors and family members tell me, hey, did you lose some weight? You're looking really good. Now, under Brian's app and coaching, I feel like I can finally reach my weight loss and health goals. I tried for years on my own and felt hopeless as I continued to gain weight. Maybe you've tried losing weight and failed. Me too. I was right there with you. Until I hired a coach that helped me to build new health habits. Now I feel and look much better. I want you to visit bodyboostbybrian.com to start feeling better today. Learn about Brian's 6-week program to lose 20 pounds. I've even worked out a deal to save you money, and Brian has promised me you will work with him directly and not one of his junior coaches. Just make sure to let him know that you came from the Stephen Gardner channel so that you can get the best deal. All right, now listen to what Dale Bigtree, a former media journalist turned documentary filmmaker, had to say. He blasts the mainstream media for firing doctors, covering up their research, colluding with Big Pharma, colluding with the mainstream media to cover up major medical injuries. Listen to what this guy had to say. It's incredible.
Much like what happened to me, I was working on the doctor's television show, and I was tipped off that there was a whistleblower inside the CDC named Dr. William Thompson, who was going to come forward and say that they were committing scientific fraud in the vaccine safety studies, specifically the MMR autism study. I made a documentary ultimately about that because, as many of you are aware, I pitched it to my executive producers. I know who you work for. I work for CBS. And they said, we're never going to go near that story. There is no way we are going to do a story that calls out the CDC and says that they're committing fraud of any kind, because we got to go and report on the latest flu epidemic, and they would let us behind the scenes, and we would make it into television, and we're not going to hurt that relationship. We're also not going to go after a product made by Merck, who's just one of the pharmaceutical companies that fund this show and fund most of television.
You hear that? We've just made inroads with Big Pharma that spends hundreds of billions of dollars a year. We're not going to risk that by exposing them or telling the truth on television.
As you well know, if you work in television, somewhere between 50 to 70% of advertising is coming from the pharmaceutical industry, which is why you're mandated to write the things that you write and told the things that you cannot write. So sometimes it takes courage to step out and do investigation beyond that. Let me show you very quickly where that investigation should start for all of you. These are vaccine inserts. I had my COO, Bridget Rasmussen, go by a doctor and say, we'd just like to see some vaccine inserts. Twinrix, I could read them off, Haverix, Shingrix. They didn't do infants, so we didn't get hepatitis B and those things, but I find it shocking, and you should find it shocking as a reporter, how many times I've read, well, the experts say, when Del Bigtree or Robert Kennedy Jr. says that there's been no placebo-based trials to establish safety prior to licensure, I would probably put money that none of you reporters have ever grabbed one of these and read it. Or if you did, then how did you write? The experts say that that is misinformation, because
Yeah, more like Big Pharma, who pays my paycheck, told me to say.
it's written in every single insert that shows up with every single vaccine that you've taken and that our children have been given. And so when people say, is Robert Kennedy Jr. going to take a vaccine away? I would say Robert Kennedy Jr. is going to begin a conversation of transparency, of talking about the actual science that is written in every one of these lists, pages and pages of injuries that are right here, written by the manufacturer by law because they are happening to real children and real people, and no one in front of me right now has ever written about this story.
I've been to the doctor. They've never even shown that to me, let alone take time to go through the risks, the pros, the cons. I literally pay hundreds of dollars. I get 15 minutes and a shot, and I'm pushed out the door. I don't know anything about what's going on. And he makes such a great point.
Why? How can you say you're doing your job? Who are you working for?
Big
We are
Pharma.
supposed to be the fourth branch of government, the fourth estate. We are supposed to challenge these things and say, for how many years will we let these injuries happen before someone decides to make a better product or do a study and figure out, is there a test we can do to see if you're vulnerable to these injuries? We've never studied who these injuries are happening to. Sure, go ask the experts, just like Tony Fauci, who told you social distancing was science, and questioning him was questioning science itself. Just like the vaccine stops transmission, which every single one of you wrote. I don't know how many of you have apologized for getting wrong.
0.
But on the high wire one day before anyone, the show that I do online, before anyone received a COVID vaccine, I read the emergency use authorization by the FDA. And it said very clearly, this study could not prove whether or not this vaccine can stop transmission. So what were you writing about? Where was your science, and exactly how do you call the people that got it right the spreaders of misinformation? You have been the spreaders of misinformation. You have gotten it wrong, and America is still waiting for an apology.
Yes, we are. We want an apology. I have done my absolute best to bring you guys truthful information during the lockdowns. My YouTube channel was censored. I had to be clever to get past the AI and the censorship. And I'm still here trying to bring you guys the truth. The reality is Big Pharma has done what's called corporate capture. They've captured the media. They've captured doctors. They've captured the American Medical Association and the mainstream media. They've even captured the government. The government literally has given them carte blanche to do whatever they want, but not anymore. RFK Jr., others, smart people, they're getting in there. All right, final story. Tom Homan, Trump's border czar, says that he has done a criminal referral of Representative AOC of New York, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, to the Department of Justice to see whether she has broken the law by telling illegal immigrants how to stay in the country, how to break the law, how to stay on government benefits, and how to avoid ICE. And she is actively working with groups to tell illegal immigrants how to stay here illegally. So he's referring her for criminal charges. We'll see what happens. All right. Hey, have a great weekend. I love you guys. Stay amazing. If you could, give this video a like because it helps me more than you know. And also hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. All right. Stay amazing. I'll see you on the next video.